Rickettsia, they are obligate intracellular parasites and they are gram-negative pleomorphic rods. They are parasites of arthropods, that is fleas, lice, ticks, mites, and there is no human-to-human transmission. You can see the pictures of various Rickettsia like tick, flea, lice, mite, and this is the gram-staining Rickettsia inside the host cell, as you can see the peripheral blood film. So next slide is about rickettsial species and its diseases. First species is Rickettsia prowazekii. This causes epidemic typhus. This causes epidemic typhus, Brill-Zinsser's disease, and this is also known as human body louse. And the second one is Rickettsia typhi. It causes endemic typhus and the transmission is through rat flea. Then Rickettsia rickettsii, the disease is Rocky Mountain spotted fever and the transmission is through vector ticks. Then Rickettsia conuri, it causes Botany's fever and the transmission is through ticks. Then Rickettsia australis, it causes Australian tick typhus, transmission is through ticks. Then Rickettsia sibirica, it causes Siberian tick typhus and the transmission is through ticks. Rickettsia acari, it causes disease rickettsial pox and the transmission is through mites. Then the general pathogenesis of Rickettsia, they are transmitted to humans by the bite of infected arthropod vector, and they can multiply at the site of the entry and then they enter the bloodstream. After entering the bloodstream, they can localize in the vascular endothelial cells. They can localize in the vascular endothelial cells and multiply to cause thrombosis, which may lead to rupture and necrosis. You can see the Rickettsia present inside these endothelial cells. So these are the endothelial cells in which Rickettsia are present. Rickettsial infections. So the classification of rickettsial infection. First of all, typhus fever group. Which causes epidemic typhus or Brill-Zinsser typhus. It causes two diseases, epidemic typhus, Brill-Zinsser typhus, and the second one is endemic typhus. Then the second group is spotted fever group. Then the Rocky Mountain spotted fever. It causes Siberian tick typhus, Australian tick typhus, rickettsial pox. Then epidemic typhus, also known as classical typhus. The cause of epidemic typhus is Rickettsia prowazekii and the vector is human body louse. That is, another name is Pediculus humanus corporis. So you can see this is the lice. Then human head louse, that is Pediculus humanus capitis. The incubation period is 5 to 21 days and the mortality rate is 20 to 30% in untreated cases. Then symptoms. Symptoms are severe headache, chills associated with high fever, generalized myalgia, vomiting. Then there can be macular rash after 4 to 7 days, which first appears on the trunk, then spreads to the limbs. There can be lack of consciousness in the further advanced stages. Then Brill-Zinsser or recrudescent typhus. It occurs after the person is recovered from the epidemic typhus and then there is reactivation of the Rickettsia prowazekii, which remained latent for years. There is reactivation, that is relapse. It is mild illness and there is mortality rate is low. Then second one is endemic typhus, also known as murine typhus. It is caused by Rickettsia typhi and the vector is rat flea Xenopsila chiopsis, rat flea, that is Xenopsila chiopsis, and the reservoir is rat and the infections occurs after bite of the rat flea. So this is endemic typhus. Next one is spotted fever group. First of all, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. It is the most serious form and the cause is Rickettsia rickettsii. Infections occurs after the bite of the tick and the incubation period is 1 week and the symptoms are more or less similar to typhus fever, but in this case the rash appears earlier and is more prominent. This is the only difference. There is a earlier appearance of rash and it is more prominent, and you can see this is the vector. This is the rash. You can see the pictures of the rash on the arm, on the feet. The clinical symptoms of other spotted fevers, they are also very similar to Rocky Mountain spotted fever. The earlier macular rash that appeared on the sole of the foot, and the late petechial rashes, they are on the forearm and palm. You can see the petechial rashes in the picture. Then the rickettsial pox. It's a benign febrile illness with vesicular rash, and it also resembles chicken pox. And the vector is Liponesoides sanguinis. And the reservoir is domestic mouse. It is self-limiting and non-fatal. Complications of rickettsial diseases, there can be bronchopneumonia. It can cause congestive heart failure. There can be multi-organ failure. It can lead to disseminated intravascular coagulopathies. Myocarditis, that is inflammation of the heart muscles, endocarditis, that is inflammation of the heart lining, and glomerulonephritis, inflammation of the kidney. These are the complications. Then the lab diagnosis is very important. First of all, isolation that can be done from experimental animals. Second one is serology. For serology, we can collection of the specimen. That is, specimen collected is blood, which is collected in case of fever. Rickettsia, since it is highly infectious, so the samples of the specimens, they should be handled very carefully. Isolation, in this blood is inoculated in guinea pigs or mice, and they are observed on 3rd or 4th week. Then the animal responds to different rickettsia species that can vary. Symptoms, there can be rise in temperature, it occurs in all species. There can be scrotal inflammation or swelling or necrosis. It can occur in R. typhi, Rickettsia typhi, Rickettsia acari, and Conori. These symptoms occur in all these Rickettsia typhi, Conori, and acari except Rickettsia prowazekii. Serology is the reliable test to confirm rickettsial diseases, and the antibody detection is done by Weil-Felix test. So very important test for detection of rickettsia, Weil-Felix test. And the antigen detection that can be done by immunofluorescent assay. This is first important Weil-Felix test. In this test, it is a heterophile agglutination test. In this we use non-motile strains of Proteus. There are 3 strains of Proteus we use which are non-motile, OX19, OX2 and OXK, to find the rickettsial antibodies in the serum of patient. And the procedure we do is, in this case, serum is diluted in 3 separate series of tubes, followed by the addition of equal amounts of these strains OX19, OX2, OXK in 3 separate series of 3 tubes. And then the incubation is done at 37 degrees Celsius for overnight. Then we observe for the agglutination. Interpretation of Weil-Felix test: if there is strong agglutination with OX19, that means the infection is with patient is suffering from epidemic and endemic typhus. And if there is strong agglutination with OX19 and OX2, then it means it is spotted fever. Then if there is strong agglutination with OXK, it means a patient is infected with scrub typhus. Scrub typhus by Orantia sugasugamishi, it is also one of the rickettsial disease. This is the immunofluorescent antibody technique. You can see fluorescent antibody. In this, fluorescent antibody is used to detect the rickettsial antigen in infected tissues. You can see the fluorescent light. Then other serological tests which can be used are, their complement fixation test, second is latex agglutination test, then enzyme immunoassay. All these tests use rickettsial antigens only to detect rickettsial antibodies. So these are the other serological tests. Then the treatment, it should be started early in the first week of illness. First choice of treatment is doxycycline, that is the drug of choice, and the alternate treatment we can give is tetracycline. Prophylaxis, first of all we should control the vectors. All the vectors, they should be controlled. And then the vaccines, there are live vaccine and killed vaccines which are available, but these are not much effective. So this was all about rickettsia. Thank you very much.